Are you playing a game while we're streaming, Brant?
Yeah, yes.
All right, everybody, we are live here on Discord Gaming. I've got a bunch of content creators that make a lot of content for Marvel Champions, and we're going to get all their kind of feedback, opinions, their likes, dislikes, what they hope for the game. And hopefully some of us will not kill each other too much with our different views, but this is cool because I think the game's been out for now a few years, and it's grown so much, and especially with the content side of things. And I just think I tried my best to kind of see if we could do this, because I don't think there's ever been a big round table, a bunch of content creators talking about Marvel Champions, and I thought it'd be an interesting thing to do.
Oh.
So I've got a bunch of them now. I apologize, I don't have like the names put up nicely. I tried to set this template up, and
Terrible.
I just couldn't figure it out. So I went back to easy mode, and we're just doing this all on the Discord channel here. But to the very left of the screen, that's Late Night Gaming. I believe he's making a face debut here. So yes. Hello, Late Night Gaming. Yeah.
That's me.
We got Spartan at the top. And everybody here they make content for Marvel Champions. So if I'm going to put links in the description of each one for their channels, and please go there and leave comments. And if you do like this roundtable, let us know. We got Maurice bottom left, my brother in arms when we're doing leadership and aggression together. And you got Steve from Play the Game, sort of center bottom there. Really cool channel. In fact, he was one of the people I watched initially and got me into the game. And then you got Brant from The Portal, who does some awesome multiplayer Marvel Champion content. Again, Steve usually joins him as well there. And he's awesome. They're all awesome. Everybody here is awesome.
Everyone is awesome.
So
Steve is walking around his house. What are you doing?
I'm exercising. Why would I?
You are so distracting. Your background is shifting all around.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna go sit down.
Like I'm on like a 13-year-old's live stream.
Jog.
Oh my god, like Kidley. I'm gonna sit down.
So I had put in some topics down for us to get an idea of what we're going to be talking about, but in a sense, we're going to be talking about Marvel Champions now. One of the first questions I put out, and I'm interested to know how each one of you feel about this. So, what do you enjoy the most about Marvel Champions? Because I think we've been playing this game for some of us for a long time. There's obviously something there that has got us hooked, or that is keep coming to the table with Marvel Champions. Because a lot of games we play might like it, but then it's like done, see you later, then we move on to something else. But it seems like Marvel Champions has something there that we just keep coming back to it. So Late Night Gaming, what in your eyes, what is the thing that you enjoy most about Marvel Champions?
So what pulled me into it was how easy it is to play this game, solo especially, because that's basically the only way that I can play besides with you and Spartan. And the thematic elements of the game really, they really hit home for me with everything. So
yeah,
that's what drew me in.
I agree. Like, I mean, even from day one with the core set, like Spider-Man backflipping out, some of those villains, Ultron, the drones coming out.
Moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing.
You fall in love with this game is when you use the spider sense to draw backflip. That is a key moment for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And then Spartan, what about you? Have at you. What do you have to say?
So the things that got me into the game were, one, that it's Marvel, and then also that it was cooperative. My wife and I, we tend to do a lot of things together. And the fact that we're not trying to go against each other, because she's ruthless, and when we're playing some type of game, Munchkin, that probably could have destroyed the relationship in itself. And but for Marvel, we're expecting our fourth kid, and every single one of our kids are named after a Marvel character. And so, that was what kind of got me into it. And I might actually be different from everyone else because I bought the game. I bought Red Skull, and I brought Doctor Strange, right? That at the same time. And then we didn't touch it for another year. And then it was this year I had like an extra gift card. I got Captain America, and it's something at that point just hooked me. It was Captain America, Green Goblin, and I think maybe the Wrecking Crew. And after that, I just couldn't stop collecting everything. And I was just hooked.
Yeah, that living card game loop that they keep kind of every month or two, you get more content.
They got me.
Yeah, Marie. So I know you've always been you like board games, you like card games, but what is it about Marvel Champions that you're just like, I like this game?
Yeah, there's a couple of things for me. As time passed, for one, I think it's the community. It's things like this that excites me a lot because you get to see how deep and well versed that this game is. I love how thematic the heroes and the villains are. With my favorite heroes, they're all extremely thematic. I know people who play the other LCGs say that this game isn't thematic, and I'm willing to debate them to the cows come home on how thematic this game is. But so the community, the theme, and just how I can feel like my favorite Marvel heroes. So and also like the different approaches you can have to the game. You can play the same villain 50 different times, with 50 different heroes played 50 different ways, right? So there's a lot of variability to the game that keeps me coming back.
All right, cool. So Steve from Play the Game, have at you.
Me, the first thing that hooked me was exactly like the first time I assembled Iron Man's armor. The first time I said, "What kind of?"
Oh God.
It's seriously, it's exactly when you're drawn to the characters, and then you feel the empowerment that this game gives you, compared to other strategy card games. Like if you play the other Marvel IPs like Legendary, I played Legendary, and I never felt this connected to the characters when I was playing. Like, because I bought a Wolverine card, I bought a Hulk card, I bought this card. But when I'm playing this game, I feel like, oh my God, I'm Spider-Man now. Like, come at me, bro, come at me. I mean, that is what I love. And then the deck building aspect, because I play Magic. I am a Commander Brewer. I love to deck build. So seeing an idea of certain combination of cards come together and form a strategy, and then you see that strategy come to life and how to execute it to come out with like an incredible achievement or just the victory on the game. That for me is just what makes Marvel Champions a gem.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of some of your theme decks, like the Thor Party deck. I love that one. So Brant, I'm interested to hear. You're the last one. Or I guess I have to go after you. But
you better make it good. Mostly it was getting that guy's arm. That was the key. No, sorry. So I think the initial part was definitely the variability. I love asymmetric games. So like Gaia Project and Terra Mystica and Gloomhaven, Root, where you get characters, or even deck building games like Heart of Crown or Clank or whatever, where you get to kind of construct your own thing. There's so much variety with the modular sets and the ability to shuffle in the 4 aspects and then just changing heroes. So I'm the person who wants to just change the hero every time, even if I have my favorites. I still like to change, but 100% the part that I will always be the biggest proponent of is the multiplayer cooperation. This game, I didn't know when I was playing solo and somewhat 2-player so much how high level that gets. And Steve and I have specifically done it a bunch with Brian, where like we just build these decks that are just totally the same think tank. The most recent being those X-Men decks where you get all the X-Men supports out and all those upgrades and all the game times, and it's just a powerhouse of cooperation.
And it's fun seeing
everybody can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and it's fun seeing it come together. Like you have these ideas, like Steve was talking, and then seeing that come through. For me, lots of what late night gaming was saying. I just think they nailed the theme so well in this game, and I know theme gets said about a lot of different games out there, but I think it was so critical for them to hit that with comic book heroes, and that I think if they did not get that theme down, I think that would lose some of that magic with Marvel Champions. And the fact that they do it over and over with different heroes, even the villains can be very thematic. So that was that would be my answer. Anyways, so we're gonna go.
I have a quick thing there, though.
Yeah.
So the complaint I hear from people who don't enjoy the game is the opposite. Like, this game is so non-thematic, it's all numbers. So, like, as much as you assemble, Iron Man's suit, they feel like you put down cards that say deal 1 damage. So it's just a big math puzzle. So I'm just intrigued why we see so much theme, but people who really don't like the game see numbers. Like, it's just a puzzle.
I think for me, I kind of understand what you're saying. I think though, like mechanically, like I'm a real gamer at heart. Like when I was little, I had all the Nintendos, but I think the way I look at gaming in general, I look at the mechanics of what makes it tick. And for me, I just like how the developers made the heroes work, the villains work, like how the mechanics of the game work. And I don't know if I'm answering that particular question, what you're saying about theme, but for me, that the theme mechanics of the game, I think they nailed it. But are you talking more about the story driven part of it? Or
that he's talking about is like there's that moment at the end of a match, right? You're like, all right, do we have enough? Especially in the higher numbers, where you're counting out how much damage can you do. And then there is sometimes where when you like, oh yeah, no, we've got the 24 damage to beat this boss, and you're like, all right, well, we beat him, and it's not like there's no fireworks or anything. And I can understand that, but at that, I get it. I understand where people.
You've kind of done the work at that point. That's
so.
Fine, right?
I guess a good example is like Arkham Horror has more of that atmosphere theme of that your imagination kind of goes more instead of numbers. Is that what you kind of mean by that?
Well, I think what Brad's trying to say is when people are critical of the game is because regardless of what we're doing, regardless of theme, you're dealing damage, you're removing threat. Those are the 2 main things that you need to do in this game.
Right.
So if you break it down to that, then I can see if I'm super analytical. And then for me is like, okay, this character can do X damage with X cards. This character can do this with X cards. And then if you just dumb it down to that, then I can see where, okay, well, I don't see the enjoyment. So what makes Marvel Champions so unique for us is because we have a love of the characters, and those characters bring that
we don't see the numbers as much. We kind of have this imagination. Yeah, this is 8 damage, but to us it's like
it's a repulsor blast.
It's a big repulsor blast or something. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Good point.
That's where I believe the big difference is for somebody who, if you bring this game to somebody who does not like Marvel, who let's say is a DC fan or even whatever, who's just a game fan but not of the IP. There's people that don't like Marvel, which is like a minority, but there is people that don't like the Marvel characters. Is like, nah, it's dumb. But my wife being one of them.
So
she just like,
so that's
why do you keep playing the same thing? That's how she sees it. Why are you playing the same thing all the time?
So that was an interesting point you mentioned, Brant, because my next question sort of dabbles into, what we're kind of talking a little bit about. So the next question was, where would you like to see the devs go with this game currently? So it's more of like what they haven't done with this game. Is there any creative ideas within the group here that you kind of want to see Marvel Champions try to do, or some new mechanic? Does anyone? Maurice, you shaking? Okay, go, Maurice.
Oh, Steve, you can go ahead and go if you had an idea.
No, I was just gonna say. Well, some of us have actually play tested the game for the thing. So there's things we like.
You're not allowed to talk about.
We can't talk about and stuff like that. So I'm gonna recluse myself from that question.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. And I think people understand. Okay, Maurice, go ahead.
Yeah, so I already made a video on this, so I'm just going to regurgitate it because I'm going to campaign for it till it happens. I think the only thing this game is missing legitimately is story when it comes to theme, because I think the campaigns fall slightly short. I think they were on to something with the Infinity Saga, and now we're potentially going into the X-Men saga. But I made a video going over Daredevil versus Punisher. They're two of my favorite Marvel heroes, and I'd like to see the campaign have a bit more choices outside of, just getting rid of this.
I saw that video, and I thought was really cool, because I think in your video you're like, well, if this happens, then the game will flip and you'll do this, but it was like really different the way the game would structure itself based on a choice you made, and I don't think they have yet really done that with the game, like where like a choice you make really affects the whole outcome of the whole campaign. I think you're stressing like there'll be these critical choices that will dramatically change your campaign playthrough. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, because if you decide to go, with Daredevil and Punisher, like if that's going to be the theme of the
more like role playing-ish type of feature, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
To where if you let's say that there's the main bad guy's Kingpin, and you're trying to figure out whose sense of justice is correct between Daredevil and Punisher, then let's say I roll with Daredevil, then the point of me wouldn't be to completely defeat the enemy, but maybe get their health down to a certain amount of level and remove X amount of threat from the theme, or complete the scheme like you would in the Collector 2 or something like that. Or if you decide to go with Punisher, then you just straight up get rid of them. And depending on which branch you decide to go up against, there's certain allies who would be able to join you in the campaign because they favor one sense of justice compared to the other. And then at the end of that campaign, maybe by the time you get to Kingpin and defeat him, then you have to go up against either Daredevil or Punisher, depending on, which justice you decide to go. But I think that would be a cool idea for Marvel Champions in terms of, because I actually had another answer for this, but I didn't realize that was the direction you were going. But with this direction, I think what Marvel Champions is missing is that storytelling aspect, because a lot of times it's on our own merit to create those stories. If I want to get Star-Lord and Valkyrie go up against Green Goblin, like I have to create that myself.
So
but to get an immersive story.
One thing you probably, I don't know if you do this anymore, but every card, or most of the cards, do have a little bit of text on it, and they do have a little bit of story on it.
Yeah.
So that's something I've noticed. I kind of shied away from reading all the card text and like the little subtext, but those are like kind of part of the story when the villain advances. When you read a little bit of the story in the back, and mostly on the main schemes and the side, and then on some of the side schemes, they have that story. But I like what your idea was of like, oh, okay, the choice. I would see that for a type of video game. See, the difficulty of making that in a card game is you have infinite possibilities.
But
so
they
how
do
do
that
the
in Arkham
designers
Horror.
choose? Yeah.
There's
So
Tony
Tony Finchi commented on that exact thing on the Critical Encounters podcast. I don't remember the episode. I don't remember exactly what he said, but essentially he said or it might have been when they did that stream when they did like they took people's campaign submissions. But anyway, he had said one of their major limiting factors is they decided to go with those cartoon, the comic panels, and they are limited in the number of comic panels they can make, and they are commissioning those. Those are made for the game. So because of those comic panels and that linear nature of the game, they can't deviate the story to give you choice. So what Tony said, if I remember exactly, was Arkham Horror is our game that exists for those choices. Marvel Champions is intended to be light on story, and that was a choice they made in the design of the game. Now, I still think there's ways to do what you said, Maurice. There's still the option of saying you want to take the Punisher or the Daredevil ally and shuffle them in your deck, right? So there's those options where you could still do it with cards, but he did comment on that idea of choice in the campaign, and that they were limited by those comic panels that they're actually paying for.
Yeah, I think the Mojo expansion, though, they made the path forward for something like that, right? You can do something where it's a 3 episodic type of thing where, okay, first you go up against Kingpin and you have to make your decision, and then next you fight someone, and then last you fight either Daredevil or the Punisher. And what you could do for that encounter is you could do the double-sided cards, right? Where on one side you have Punisher, on the other side you have Daredevil. So I mean, I think it's definitely a doable thing. Maurice and I definitely hash this out on that.
I gotta say one thing. I freaking love Mojo Mania. I love that expansion.
Yes.
Short and sweet.
I love it.
Love it.
My favorite one. Favorite one out of the whole entire set.
Even from the mutagen formula, it's probably because you played mutagen formula so much.
Mutant formula is great. It's an oldie. It's awesome. But I just love. I don't know. I'm gonna do a review one of these days on Mojo Mania, but talk about it. But I really like it.
It's an encounter set or a scenario pack. I think it's one of the best.
It's just really fun. It's really fun.
I don't know.
Mojo.
For Mojo, I think Mojo Mania as a scenario pack is one of the best.
So I'm gonna lead us into.
If you don't mind, I had something I wanted to mention. I kind of did the same thing as Maurice with the heroes. There were some heroes I wanted to see, or not heroes, but I wanted mechanics done. One of them I did a video was Angel, where his
I saw your video. Yeah,
his obligation makes him better. So it's almost like you're trying to find it in the encounter deck. I think that would be a pretty cool, similar to like what they did with Jean Grey, where it completely changes the state of the game, but it actually makes this character better, was one of the ideas I had. And another one was, I'd like to see a deck where it was mostly allies, maybe like 18, and that way you could kind of sub out 3. But those because it sounds like you want to move on, but those were the quick ideas that I had. I'd like to see.
Yeah. Thanks. So I just want to throw a disclaimer for this next section we're going over. So some of these topics are a little bit, I would say, controversial in the Marvel community. It's player count, difficulties, but I want everybody here to be not afraid, honest. And again, these are just our individual opinions. It doesn't mean you have to play the game like this or this makes the game right.
I will find you.
So people in the comments, and again, this is just a very open conversation. And I want to bring up a player count because that has been a topic that seems to get debated a lot with this game. And mainly like, what is the best player count? Or what do you, playing this Marvel Champions game, what do you get the best out of it? Is it solo? Is it 2-player? Is it 2-handed solo? Is it 4-player? And I think I'm just going to go first because I went last time. I think for me, there's positives in all different playing groups. But if I had to be honest with my own opinion, I think there is a sweet spot, perhaps 2-player, 3-player, because my reasoning behind it is there's more interactions, and the scaling seems to be a little bit fine-tuned better for you to maybe flip to altar more often, to do other things and explore deck building ideas. Where solo, I feel like, is fun and it's challenging, but you have to sometimes be more precise with deck building and more precise with what you're doing strategy wise. But real short, I would say for me, I love solo play, and on my channel I do lots of solo play. But I think 2 and 3 is like the sweet spot, I call it. What about Spartan? What about you? What's your thought on player count?
Yeah, I'd probably say a lot of similar. The only reason why I started playing solo was just because of I've limited space. Before that I never played solo. I would play two-handed before I did that. So I really like 2 or 3 player. The problem I have with 4 player is that it just takes too long. But I mean, what I wrote down was it just depends on how long you've got and what you have available. I mean, if you're ready to play a 4-player game, do it. I mean, that's awesome. I imagine there would be, as long as everyone's tuned in, right? Because that's the other thing, is that I play with a lot of kids when I'm doing these 3 or 4-player games, because it's Marvel, and that makes the game rough when you're playing with kids that just check out 20 minutes into the game and you're like, hey, it's been your turn for like the last 10 minutes. Can we go? So yeah, I think that there is space for any of them. And I think that's what's great about the game. About where it's fine tuned, I couldn't really tell you. But again, I personally love it at 2 and 3. But I do most of my stuff in single.
Yeah, thanks. Late night, what about you?
Yeah. I think that it is probably best tuned for 2 to 3 players.
Oh,
I have
no
never
volume.
played 4-player, but I think that it would be awesome to see a 4-player game with each person has one of the aspects going. I mean, it would just be incredible to see.
I
how
think
they
too,
all
like if all
gel
4
together.
players are pretty competent with the game, so they can kind of play fast. I think that would, because that's the big negative. I think we all agree, all of us agree, that 4-player does take a little bit on the long side, right? I mean, so yeah, okay. Maurice, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I share the same sentiments. You know, for those of you out there that's listening to this, that play the game completely solo, you're playing it wrong. And
Ooh.
oh yeah, I got time tonight, but I understand. I give a bit of grace to those that are content creators, because I understand, similar to what Spartan was saying, that space is everything for this game. You want to see everything on the table. But the reason why I have issues with solo, because I normally play solo two-handed, I think that this game is perfect at 2. For one, I don't think that the game run too long as a 2-player game, so it's not invasive with time. But also, you get what you're missing in solo is the ability to really get the most out of team up cards, alliance cards, and the synergies between different aspects. And I think that 3-player is slightly too long for my liking, but I'll do it with no issues. I do think 4-player does run a little long, but I think it was Spartan that mentioned that, like, if that's the game of the game night, like, I'm down for that. And I think that that's important, that you can have people at the table that can appreciate that link. So I think that 2 is the sweet spot. As you get a little bit more, that sweet spot start to go away a little bit, but not too much. And I think solo, you're missing out on too much of the game. But I also understand with, if you just want a quick game, to go ahead and play it.
All right, cool. And again, I'm loving this, guys. I appreciate you, and be honest. Like, this is a very free discussion. Steve, go ahead.
Well, I think me and Brant, we actually had a game versus Hela. We have to rescue Odin. What was it, 90 minutes or an hour?
Yeah.
We
put a timer on.
We put a timer on.
It was 60 minutes.
It was 60 minutes, yeah. And there was 3-player expert Hela. We have 60 minutes. That's it. Online. So not even face to face. This is just playing, trying to figure stuff out on on Discord, which is a little bit harder. Obviously, when you're playing face to face, it's a lot easier to make the decisions. But again, it also depends on the level of player you are. So one thing I've noticed is when we're playing, and maybe it's just people feel like intimidated or just like insecure. But when they're playing with us, I've noticed like, oh, is that the best decision? Is that the best? Like, and they are like defer to us. As like, oh, is that the best thing we can do? I was like, you know what, just make a choice. Like these are the options, and the more you play, the more you see the options that you have with the cards that you have, and like, okay, so I can build, or I can take care of this, or I can do that. Is this priority? And it's just after a while, the more you play the game, like me and Brant, like we know, like when we're coming into a scenario, most of the time, except when Brant was playing Storm, we know what we're doing.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. My brain really shut down that time.
Exactly. You just go. I'm like, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I want to do. Can you do better? And can I help you with something? And this is where the aspects and all that kind of stuff and deck building comes into part. Because if you're focusing on that strategy, or if you're just trying to go like broad range, so I think that's a big issue that you're gonna have. And playing on standard, there's nothing shy. There's even playing on skirmish. If you're playing with a bunch of kids, when I play with my kid, I play skirmish.
Oh, you mean rookie?
Oh yeah, is it?
Yeah.
Now
rookie?
call it rookie.
Rookie mode.
Yeah. I thought it
Yeah,
was
rookie
they
is
changed the name.
you only.
There's a rookie mode.
Yeah. When you kill one stage of the villain, it's game over. So that's rookie mode.
That's changed.
Yeah.
What?
You can just
You
fight
can
Ronan and you're
any
dead,
stage.
and then you just shuffle up.
I was gonna say, Steve. It also helps that you, Brian, Brant, yourself, you guys play a lot together. So I think you guys feel a little more comfortable, and you go through your like you guys know. Okay, I know what he's doing. So you guys feel a little bit comfortable together. You guys got a lot of games in together.
Yeah, a little bit isn't even the term. We feel extremely.
But your team multiplayer basically, like if you had to pick a group, okay.
I'm just kind of like Brant. This game, I love it at 3. I love it at 4 as well. I've played it at 4 player, and I've enjoyed it. And there's again, I'm not playing on expert when I'm playing a 4-player game with new people. We're playing standard, and we're just we're building decks real fast. This is what they want to do. Sometimes when they don't know, I build them a deck. I give them a quick here. This is what your deck wants to do. Done. Go play. And just have fun with that. And I remember my friends they wanted to try the X-Men, and we played a 4-player game against Night of the Sentinels, and a 4-player game, it took 45 minutes, an hour on standard, and that was it.
Nice.
All right, Brant, what about you?
I mean, I don't have a problem with solo mode at all. I think it's the swingiest. I mean, just the fact that there's 2 advances and 2 assaults, right?
right.
And it never adjusts ever, no matter the player count. It just doesn't make sense, right? But then there's things like
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
If you draw a side scheme, it's per player. Most of them, obviously, there's some that don't. So in a single player game, it's not nearly as bad to draw that side scheme as it is. You got a lot of threat to remove in a 4-player game. So the reason I don't buy whatever time people have, they have, but like if making the game as short as possible is the goal, then why is everybody not playing that rookie mode? Like if you're like, oh, I like solo because the game takes 20 minutes, well, play rookie, then it takes 10. And the other thing I'll tell you is I don't think people want to play this game as fast as possible, because I've made a heck of a lot of speedrun videos, and it's not a very popular way to play the game, because everybody would be playing Star-Lord and Wolverine if they wanted to end the game as soon as possible.
And maybe Storm. She's also
and
pretty.
Hope. Don't forget Hope.
Probably do it with
Sure,
Storm,
yeah.
too,
I mean, a bunch of characters, but they'd be doing this rush thing, and nobody's doing it. So clearly, people want the variety of the game. The time doesn't matter. Now, again,
I
you
like
can play
your
a 10-minute
speedruns.
game with Star-Lord.
I like your speedruns, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. You said be salty, so I'm being salty.
Okay.
Like that, I'm playing the role. You said
That's right.
So,
Let's go.
but you could play that 10-minute game, but obviously people are happy to play a solo game that's 20 and 25 minutes. And I think most of us have probably had the experience of a 4-player game with people who didn't know the game, and it went 2+ hours, right?
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's afraid of.
No,
I didn't know I was
wait.
going to be here for 2.5 hours.
Me and Maurice, I've done it twice with D20 and Nelson, and I think it's always 3 hours to 4 hours.
Right. And so there's that experience of people like, that's too long for anything. It's too long for a video game. It's too long for a movie, anything that I do for fun, right? But I would say objectively, this game is at its best 4-player, 4 decks, built together, tuned with 4 veteran players who know how to play those decks together. That is the objectively best game.
I don't even know 4 veteran
4 hours, you know? I'm just saying it makes all that cooperation come out. It makes all that happen. I'm not saying that if people aren't experiencing that, they're not experiencing a good game. It's just that's what I want people to see is when you get to that level and you get to do that. It's just so much fun. I played a 3-player game at PAX Unplugged. We all walked over to the convention center on Saturday morning. It was Nelson and Roy and myself. We shuffled up. We played against Sinister Six. It was 2 aggressions and a protection. We had no threat removal, and we just went, and it was 45 minutes. You know,
wow,
like, that was 3 people just showing up with decks and shuffling, like
Roy Kennedy,
non-issue. So, yeah.
Okay, guys. So we're jumping now into another interesting, controversial topic. Is difficulties. Now, when I say difficulties, it's basically how the game tells you how to set up or put into the encounter deck. And I know you could even say adding different modulars also changes the difficulty, which it does. But basically, you got Rookie, and we kind of briefly talked about it. It's usually for very new players, and it's very forgiving. You kill the villain once, game over. Short and sweet. You got Standard 1, Expert 1, Standard 2, Expert 2, and then Heroic levels. For people who never heard of Heroic, it was introduced to Marvel Champions in the early stages of its life. I believe because people were kind of complaining that the game wasn't hard enough. Again, this was in the early core days, I believe. I don't know if that's the main reason why they came out with Heroic, but from my understanding, I think there was a little bit of pushback that the game needed to be harder. And it was a quick fix. So they said, hey, they posted it on Fantasy Flight. This is Heroic. Every player will, during the encounter step phase, you're going to deal an extra encounter card face down. So that's basically the gist of Heroic. And then you have levels. You could go as high as you want. You could do 10 Heroic, but that would be a little crazy. Now, what's interesting with you got Standard 2 and Expert 2, they came out sort of halfway or a little bit past halfway where we are right now with Marvel Champions. It came out with the Hood scenario pack.
Yeah.
And it basically can replace Standard 1 or replace Standard 2. And I think it got a lot of mixed reviews, maybe more negativity around it because there's a lot of surging in this Standard 2, Expert 2. Mm-hmm. And that's another topic we can kind of give our opinions on. There's a big group of people that don't like Surge, or they'll deal with it, but they do not like it overused in this game, and it sometimes makes players upset or just not happy. Then there's other players that that don't mind it. But so I'm just giving a rundown for people that are tuning in here so they kind of understand what we're talking about. So basically, I want to know from each one of you about difficulties, and I guess I'll start it off, and then we'll go from Brant, and then down left, and then up, and then right. But I'll try to make
when to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, and again, this is from my point of view, and I told you, like, I've been a gamer for a long time. I get a lot of enjoyment trying to push myself to beat.
I love your friends.
Yeah, to beat challenging things. Like I've always gravitated towards like harder games, like Ninja Gaiden and Just games that are really hard to master or beat.
Hey, hold
And
up. Are you
yeah,
a dirty Dark Souls player? You one of them?
oh man, I like all the hardcore games. But even games like for instance, Doom Eternal. I don't know if anybody's played that. It's a first person shooter,
Nope.
but I really like that game as well because uh, you go into that game and the game forces you to learn and get better and understand the mechanics of how the developer made the game, where you have to use the chainsaw to get ammo. You use the zombies as fodder to. So there's a lot of interesting nuances in that game. I don't know if probably maybe a couple of you have played the game, but it's one thing to play that game. It's one thing to master that game. Now, if you type in YouTube and you watch some really good Doom Eternal players, it's amazing what they can do in that game. Like it blows your mind. Like they must spend like 12 hours every day practicing. I don't know. But so I've always been one of those players that I like to just push myself and get better at the game, understand the game. And so Marvel Champions is sort of no different. When I got into the game, I wasn't very good at it, but I played a lot and I worked my way up from standard, expert. I tried heroic, but I did not like heroic. Real short, I just felt it kind of artificial because if I get a hazard out, well, I'm already getting an extra encounter card. Why even bother with the hazard? I mean, that was my thinking. And I don't know, I just, and I found that some villains, yes, it was much harder on heroic, some not as much, like Rhino. So it kind of depended on the encounter set or the villain set, you know? But I know some people do like heroic, and Tony Tales made a good comment in one of his videos that he likes heroic. One of his points is because it allows, especially for smaller player counts, allows you to see more of that villain's toolkit, more treacheries, more stuff coming out. And for him, he likes that. Now, I know we're going to have different opinions on the difficulty topic here. And again, this is just coming from me. And where I am with Marvel Champions, I've gradually worked my way up. And once I've kind of felt like I've mastered standard, master expert, I try to see, okay, what's next on the horizon? And I got into a time where I was playing Ronin like religiously because he's a really baddie in the game, right? So, and then I went on this crusade to try to beat Ronin with as many different heroes as I can and different aspects. And I think the big hero for me was Hulk. Like I'm like I know everybody thinks Hulk is bad and terrible, and that's a bunny trail right there to go into Hulk, but. I was determined to try to figure out how can I be expert Ronin with Hulk, and I did it, and then I did it again, and then I do it a lot of times. Although a little bit of RNG, but so then going back to my final point, I'm very happy playing Standard 2 Expert 2. But my big thing is I would say I don't like Expert 2 in solo, because I feel the scaling is very poor, and it does become a surge fest in solo, and there's nothing you can do if or it makes you play certain decks, and yeah. But in multiplayer, I feel like there's more aspects going, different hero compositions, and I feel like if you're on if you're on that side of I want to try Expert 2. Multiplayer, I think, is good for it. I think the scaling is more realistic. It's tough. It's really hard. Tony Tales made another. I know I'm using Tony Tales a lot. He felt that playing Expert 2 didn't feel like you're playing the villain set. You're more just playing Expert 2. Like, can I stop Expert 2, not stop Claw or stop Ultron? I kind of agree with him a little bit, but for me, I think why I like these new difficulties is it changes the meta. So chump blocking, knowing is it okay to flip to alter. You know, you could have 2 total annihilations floating in the counter deck. Well, if you're in hero and that comes out, the villain gets another activation with overkill. So he gets that tempo boost. So you might want to be an alter. So there's a lot of new nuances there, but I'm enjoying it for solo play. Right now I usually do standard 2 on expert level 1. Another big topic was like some people disliked steady because now you have to throw steady on the villain. which I think of multiplayer, it's not as bad. Stun and Confuse are extremely strong in this game. My main point, and I'm going to pass it to you guys because I've been talking a little bit too much. My main point is this. When I watch other people play, or when I used to play, when I played on Expert, I would just build up, chump block, build up, chump block. And the villain, at some point, the power level of the villain drops slowly because you got Mansion, Helicarrier, Queen Carrier, Captain America's this, Captain America's that. And you become like at the start of the game, you and the villain are like this almost, or the villain's like this. And then it starts to go like this. And then it's just a matter of time. I'm going to, do my flashy firework combo, 30 damage, villain's dead. Oh, we won. And I started to get kind of like, it got boring for me. And again, this is just coming from me only. I'm interested to hear what you guys say. And I know there's a lot of negatives to the difficulty that I'm talking about. And I'm interested to hear your guys' take on that. But what I found is when I jumped into Standard 2 or Multiplayer Expert 2, the villain was able to come back in the game when I was built up. And I had to pay attention way more about what's in the discard, what's in the encounter deck. I had to calculate a lot more. And I'm debating this guy on Tony Tail's channel comment right now because he says it's just RNG and surging and there's no strategy whatsoever at that difficulty. So I'm going back and forth with him. No, buddy, trust me, there's a lot of things going on. But that's where I'm coming from. So in a summary, I love difficult games, and I'm happy that Marvel Champions gives us so much customization. And I notice I'll watch Brant or Steve, and they'll do like some cool modular with this or that, and it's awesome. It can dramatically change the way that villain plays, and I love that. And sometimes even changing the modular is harder than Expert 2. Like if you give Infinity Gauntlet to Ultron or and one more thing.
Minions in.
Exactly. And I just want to say Venom, Goblin, Ronin, I would not want to play those guys on Expert 2. They're really hard. Just beating them on Expert is like an achievement. So I just want to throw that up there. But that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to pass it to Brant. And again, this is just
like
about
25 minutes.
Yeah,
the show's over.
It was a long time. Brant, go ahead. Difficulties. What's your thoughts on Marvel Champions?
Laser focus on difficulties. You had stalwart and steady and modulars in there, but I'm just going to focus on levels of difficulty. So, I mean, I think it's just all to taste and whatnot. I've tried a lot more of it. For me, with streaming, I find variety to be more interesting. So that focus. Now, Deskar, I have to say, you've done a great job making your streams very interesting. You have the voice activating. You have all the clips. Like, all that stuff is very engaging. Very good. So I think it helps you to be able to play that Expert 2, where you have to think and play a little slower and talk through what you're doing because you have other action going on. You know, my stream is boom, camera down at the table and me talking. So it's got, Steve, Brian, whoever, picking on Brian, picking on mostly
Steve does the sound effects though, so you're good there.
Right, Steve's got that, right? So people have things going. I think that could make it more interesting, but I don't know. I don't know if people want to watch, which they did. Like when Team Covenant did Rhino Heroic 3, people there for 9 weeks watching it, So there might be some sense that people want to come back and watch 9 streams of people failing doing the same thing. I don't think it's there for me. I could have a 100% win rate and still be having fun with the game.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
Yeah, and I get the sense that would not be true for you. That a 100% win rate would say
we had the different.
I'm not accomplishing anything.
We had the opposites. I said that I would be fine losing like 99% of my games if there's a chance I could win.
But I will just finish up. I'll say so. Like I did that Rhino Heroic 3. It was before the channel existed. Larry and I did it. 117 games with She-Hulk and Captain Marvel, and we got down Rhino Heroic 3 on the 117th game. So we did it. I played it 117 times. So I did that repetition. But it's it's not necessarily the thing that I'm most enjoying, and maybe I didn't learn enough. I know that when Team Covenant did it, they cracked open the Doctor Strange pack and won on the first play. So that just tells you how powerful Doctor Strange is in doing that. We did Expert 2, Standard 2, Expert 2 Thanos with the Mystics. But I remember the key ended up being hold your protective wards, hold what I can't remember what Adam Warlock's card is.
Yeah,
and I know that what's her name has one, plus she has the cancel with her brother. So like we needed to just constantly have those cards, and Cruel Intentions with 3 players is
Cruel
brutal.
Intentions, yeah.
She's brutal.
I have nightmares
So
of
like
that card.
we had to cancel that card, and that was our success. And we played that, I think, Steve, what do you think we did? 5 times in 3 streams? Does that sound about right?
About 5.
I think it took us 5 times to get it down, and that wasn't too bad. So, it's there for you, but I think the repetition is the part that I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
I want to say, you're next, Steve. I want to say something. So Steve started as Beat the Game, and long story short, he did a channel change with the name.
Oh, sorry.
But a lot of it had to do with, I guess, what we're talking about right now, the difficulties of Marvel Champions. So Steve, I'm really interested to hear where you are right now with the game and about difficulties. Go ahead.
So for me, like when I did start my channel, nobody was doing heroic, so my goal was to just start beating stuff on heroic, and then I started with these videos, and I think it was more frustrating than anything else, because sometimes some challenges took maybe 25, 30 before you can actually get one down, get one video. So I thought that was like a lot of waste of time, like especially to try to make content. I thought it was better to make to be more creative with the game, and then like like Hawkeye, I'll shoot the 10 arrows in a turn. That was more fun for me. Now to go back on difficulty, I enjoyed the game on expert. I tried to go back to standard, and for me, standard is just missing a little something. So I've tried playing on standard, like on my streams, to just like, let's just play the game chill. And I'm like, it seems too easy. Like I missed that exhaustion card.
It's like playing Mario Brothers with 100 lives.
Yeah, I like it. For me, it was just like I need a little bit more of a challenge, kind of like where you're at. For me, I love the environment that Standard 2 brings, that gives steady to everything. For me, I was never a big fan of Stun and Confuse. I thought that was just cheating.
Yeah.
If you just lock the villain out, you're just like, well,
right.
What's his point? Exactly. You just roll over them. So for me, I
kind of balances it out a little bit.
Yep,
with Doctor Strange too.
And again, just finding for me like I could play standard, and if I put a modular set that that is a countermeasure to the strategy that I'm bringing to the game. So let's say I'm playing leadership, and I'll add the cards of Ultron, that his concussive blast that can deal 1 damage to all my guys, and things that like now
under attack.
We have the one that punishes for what's it called, the Sinister Syndicate, or no, Crossfire's crew. That's the one that punishes allies. So I'm like, I'll bring that modular set to this villain to counterman what I'm trying to do. So those are the ways that I like to change it up. Like I know a lot of folks like to play with the recommended sets and everything, which is why I'm doing the Villains Beyond game things. They're like,
I love that series. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of it.
I was actually working on Wrecking Crew before we came. All right, I have 1% on my phone, so I'm gonna go find a plug and charge it.
Yeah.
But I'm probably also gonna say goodnight. So this was super fun. Yeah. But I do have to get up in about 6 hours. So
our time is dwindling. Maurice, thank you, Steve, and there'll be a link in the description for Steve's Play the Game.
Yeah, guys. Hey, it was nice meeting you. Late night guy. What's your name?
Mill.
All right. Well, it's nice meeting you, Maurice, Brant, Describe.
Next time.
Peace out, guys.
Thanks for joining us. All right. Maurice, so let's hear your thoughts. Difficulties with Marvel Champions.
Yeah, so I always play the villain on standard first, especially since I've been doing content creating. Because when I give my thoughts, I want to give it from all aspects as I possibly can. No pun intended. But I think um with difficulty, I play standard just to see like what the feel of this villain is supposed to be. Like, what's this design aspect? What
Yeah.
are they trying to do to make me lose in this game? And then I gradually work my way up from there. I think expert is still my favorite way to play. Because I think that as the game has progressed, especially since Galaxy's Most Wanted, these villains are getting harder and harder. Like, that power level is starting to get up there. I think it kind of wavered a little bit at Mad Titan Shadow and Sinister Motives, but then it went up a little bit again on Mutant Genesis, my opinion. But I like expert. The game still isn't too easy for me, but I'm okay with playing standard 2, expert 2. Like, we've played a few games on that, and we seem to do all right. So, you know, it's not, but like, I don't
Beginner's
think
luck.
that. Yeah, hey, I'll take it, man.
Or your prep talks.
The
It's
win
a
is the
prep
win.
talks. It's those
Yeah, there
prep
you
talks.
go, man. So I'm not opposed to playing expert 2, standard 2. I'll slide it in there every now and again, but I think expert is like the perfect pace for me, especially as I continue to increase my presence within the board gaming content creating world, as well as building up my collection of board games. Like, I want to play other games, so I don't quite have the time to deck build like I used to playing Marvel Champions. So expert gives me that right challenge without having to theory craft as much as I used to.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing that. Late night. What's your thought on difficulties with Marvel Champions?
I think that it's great to start with standard, and like it's been stated, you do seem to reach a point where you are beating standard on the regular, and it's like, okay, now I need a challenge. And that's when you do move up. And once you start playing on expert, you realize that the game has so much more to it. That's really what I've noticed, like, because I've only recently moved on to expert and expert 2 when I play
Play with Crazy Des Cry. Yes, we know all about that.
And yeah, there's just so much more to the game, and to like how you play and how you deck build when you bump it up just that one level from standard to expert even. So
yeah, it kind of pushes you a little bit more to be deck conscious. And I think, was it Tony or somebody so Tony released a video today about heroic and expert 2 and standard 2, and I don't know if it was him or someone on his comment said that they felt when they moved up even to expert or up to the 2s, that they really had to focus on their deck. Like, one card could make a huge difference in, you know, how things would go for them. And I kind of agree with that too, because I've noticed playing in the harder difficulties, sometimes having a key card makes all the much difference, like target acquired or whatnot. CN Spartan, difficulties. What's your thoughts on it?
Child, and I play only on standard, and the only time
I was gonna say, you're gonna say rookie. I was like, whoa.
No. I actually didn't know what rookie was until, like, I think I saw rookie was listed, and I was like, what is that? That's a thing?
Yeah,
and that would have made Thanksgiving weekend way easier, just to say. But no, I've only played standard, and the few times I play expert, there are some people that drag me through the finish line. Let's cry. And then there are other games where we epically lose. No late night gaming. And so, you know.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. Okay. So we're kind of running out of time now. If anybody, because we're almost at the 1 hour mark, and we're getting closer to finishing. We have like 2 more questions, but Brant or anybody that needs to go to bed because of work or what, you could sign off now. If anybody wants to stay a little bit later, just to get through a couple more questions,
I'm down for it.
Okay.
Grant, you're old. Do you want to get off?
That's what he said. You're looking
But
sleepy there, Grandpa.
but just for the record, we're approaching the 1 hour right now. So again, don't feel bad. Des Christ said 1 hour. So if you need to go now, I thank you for being on this round table. So we got out of that because these were difficult conversations, group play and difficulty. So I'm happy we got everyone's kind of ideas behind it, because I think a lot of people, that is the thing, like, what about player count? What about difficulties? And it's good that we had a very wide view on all these. And I appreciate you guys being honest and everything. So why do we're all content creators here. Why do we make Marvel content? Like what gets us up the next day and go, okay, let's bust open this and let's get the cameras going. I mean, we're all very, we're producing content. What drives you to produce content with Marvel Champions? Anybody?
Well, I could say that what's driving me is just I play just at night.
Sorry.
And so I'm like, I'll just record what I'm playing and throw it out there into the ether.
Right, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, so just so people know, I don't have late night. I can't hear you talking, so I apologize for talking over you. For whatever reason, there's a technical difficulty. I can't
okay. He
hear.
just said, yeah,
I can hear everybody else, so I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Okay, but did you have something to say, Bryant?
Oh, sure. I mean, I like doing everything live, so being live is a big part to me, and I just love the game so much. So it feels very comfortable to play. Like I don't mind if I make a mistake. People correct me. I know the game very well. There's lots of variety, so I think it's fun. There's different types of fun. There's the playing multiplayer. There's the showing off a unique deck. Like I love that Vision Intangible deck where you just stay in Intangible the whole game. That stuff's cool. So there's lots of neat different things to show. But I think it's my way of interacting with the community is the main part.
And
like, here, let me put this video out, and then you make comments, and then I make comments, and then put it somewhere else, and that's a big part for me.
I creep your live streams, and I will say this: you're very chill. You're very good at just chilling out, talking with your the people chatting in the chat, and people feel very relaxed at your streams. And you're I don't know if you think you're kind of a funny guy. Like I love watching. You get certain counter cards and your comments you make. No, I enjoy. I like your personality. Very chill, very laid back. But you're also very good at the game. I don't think you realize how good. Like you really understand. I even hear you thinking to yourself because you talk out loud a lot, and you'll be talking and saying, "Well, no, I don't think it's a good idea for me to do this." So, and you explain your thoughts as you're playing. So, yeah, I like it. I wanted to say
I think that's a funny part. Sorry, is just I don't do that when I play by myself. So that's a part of streaming.
Yeah.
Where in order to keep the audience engaged, I'm talking out loud. Because if I play a game by myself, I do not talk out loud. That's just something learned.
Your wife will be
help
like,
people know.
Yeah. I want to say, so when I say, make content for Marvel Champions, it also includes doing like discussions, doing guides. It doesn't have to be like playing the game. It could be just talking about the game, talking about future heroes you like to see. So I know Maurice does a lot of discussions and previews and stuff like that. So Maurice, is that something that draws you more to make more content? Is you like that Fantasy Flight keep sending us more content, more ideas and stuff?
Yeah, so the whole reason I even got on YouTube, because I guess about a year ago, I was really struggling mentally. So I started going to a therapist just to make sure I was okay because I lost interest in my hobbies, and that concerned me a lot because I didn't feel sad, but I stopped playing board games, stopped playing basketball. So in one of the sessions, she was like, "Maurice, I think you just need structure around your hobbies." And she gave an example with basketball was joining a basketball league because people would have to depend on me. I would have to depend on people. We have a goal, a common goal, work towards that goal. And I was like, well, I'm out of shape to play basketball, so that ain't happening. So I think I'm just gonna do YouTube. Like I think that, regardless, I don't care about the success of my channel. I just wanted to post things. And I think what I was trying to do was just reach out to people. So now that's been the focus. So with Marvel Champions specifically, I chose that content because to this date, and even a year ago, it's my favorite board game. So it's easy for me to talk about it, with direction that it's going, the current state of the game, what I like to see out of the game, kind of like what we're talking about right now. So that's kind of been the focus. And my last like 10 videos have been kind of half Marvel Champions, half board gaming, because I still want to talk about other board games because I love the hobby that much. So for me, I guess I kind of answered two questions, but with Marvel Champions, I think that it feels good to be a part of the community. Like you can have 1,000 subscribers, you can have 20 subscribers, and you can still meet up together.
There's some really very nice, just awesome people within this community.
Agreed.
And I want to say one thing is I love like a couple things about you. I love you speak your mind. You speak very well intellectually, but you get your thoughts out so nicely when you're just discussing it, and it looks so natural. Like I don't think you do any editing, but like if you ever if you watch Maurice's content, the dude, it's like perfect. Like, and it's like he just films it in one go, and I don't even think you edit, but you're very good at just talking and
6 or 7 times.
Yeah, and your thoughts just come out nice and clearly for people. And no, I like when you talk about certain heroes, your expectations, and all that. I'm a big fan of your channel. I like that.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
CN Spartan, the best for last, right?
There we go.
Okay, so yeah, you were on a roll, CN Spartan. You were just dishing them out, making a lot of playthroughs in that. So what is driving you to make Marvel content, Marvel Champion content?
The reason I got started, 2 of the people are right here, actually. So it started with Brant because I said something stupid right before he was going to do the Hela in so much time.
Oh, right.
And he's like, you know what? If you can beat Hela in 15, you know what? I'll give you 20 minutes. If you can beat Hela in 20 minutes, then we'll beat her in 45. But until you do that, we're going to do it in how much time we think we're going to do it in.
Right.
So that was the first stream. And then on the sideline, because I also had met Brant. We live in the same proximity. We've actually played a couple of games in person, and maybe we'll play one on stream. That's the goal one day. But on the sideline, I was talking to Maurice. While after he would make his videos, I would sit there and talk, and that was pretty cool for me because I've never really done that. And so to have someone sit there and he created content and then to talk back to me, that was pretty awesome. And we talked about doing a ranking video, and I finally released it, and that was a huge mistake. I should never have done it. But no, Maurice was constantly like, you should make more, you should make a video on that. You should make a video on that. And I've realized I'm not very good at talking head videos, but I do like making the playthroughs, and I get a lot of feedback. I've learned so much about the game just from making a playthrough and then people calling me out on my many mistakes. Because if I didn't do all of those things, I'm playing inside of a bubble, and I'm playing with my wife who learned how to play the game from me. She didn't read the instructions, and I'm playing with my brother who is also learning how to play through me. So it's just one of those things that kind of holds me accountable. And it's something I'm really glad I've got the community for. And so I tried to make it a little different. So I added the effects, and now I'm adding new things. I've got another video dropping tomorrow that it's like my last one.
I love those laser beams that are like pew pew.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I'm not doing that right now. I've gone into little clips, and so the one that comes out tomorrow is more like my Green Goblin one. But
you got to do the Green Goblin laugh that Steve does.
yeah, that's not there.
Yeah.
I'm doing something completely different. So it's I'm a newer creator. I think I've been doing this since the beginning of September. So I'm still trying to find my way. So hopefully for the people that have been giving me advice, I'm at least making content that's a little, entertaining. This last video I made, I can actually watch. Normally I have a hard time getting through the editing process because I can't sound the sound of my own voice.
We can't all be
so-
Maurice, so
Yeah.
I can go-
Well, we also can't just sit there and record in 7 takes
Be
and be
like-
like that was the good one.
So I'm
Right.
gonna end it with the last question, which was actually Maurice's question. Did I miss you late night? Did you talk on this?
I did, yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just want to make sure I didn't miss you. So Maurice had a question. It was what are your favorite villains and or modular sets? Who wants to start us off here on that one?
I go. 'Cause
Okay.
I know that it kind of caught them off guard, and I knew it was coming, so
Yeah.
I'll speak while they thinking about it. Hands down, Ronin, and this is why. For one,
Whoa.
Galaxy's Most Wanted is my favorite box to this day, which I know is not popular, but there's no villain who lived rent free in my head for weeks like him.
He's a
there-
baddie. He's a baddie.
I did not use Marvel CDB until I ran up on him.
Oh.
And just a little short story, because when I moved, I'm here in Boise. When I moved to Boise, I was staying with a friend till I found my own place, and I got him into Marvel Champions. And this was right when Galaxy's Most Wanted came out. And he started playing, on that box, and surprisingly loved Hulk. Right, so we were going through the campaign and got to Ronin, and I kid you not, it took us 14 tries to get Ronin on
Damn.
standard. And I literally, like, the feeling of getting up from that table and putting the game away and know I didn't get him that night ate me up. At work, I couldn't even think straight half the time. Like, it
So
was
you had a
frustrating.
vendetta with Ronin for
I
a
had
little
to
bit.
take him down, and we finally got him with Hulk aggression, Captain America protection.
Damn. Hulk
And
and Captain America. Nice.
That was, I've yet to have that feeling again from another villain. So he
had your number for quite a
He-
bit, but then
and
you
I
gave him.
finally got him. And now that I've played, these other villains that have come out after him, I think there are some better designed villains out there. I still really love Mysterio. I really love Venom. I really love Drang. Excuse me, not Drang. Ebony Maw. But I think that,
Ebony Maw's a good one.
yeah, I think that they're great. They're better designs than Ronin, but there is something to when Ronin hits the table, the game changes. And I appreciate that so much about him as a villain, is that he felt daunting when he hit the table. And I know that he's not a favorite amongst the community, but I think with him, like he made me go deep in my bag to get him. And I think that meant something to me, because I'm like you, I like cooperative games that make me that make me really dig for it, looking at Robinson Crusoe. So I think that's one of those things where he brought that feeling that you or that I want from a co-op game, and that was the difficulty that sometimes you just 10 hit points away from getting them, and he just assault right after assault right there,
And
and
that
he
freaking
knocking your
hammer
head
just
off
comes down. Yeah.
for 15. Yeah, he's swinging at you for 15. So it's one of those things. I just appreciate him so much, man. He's just so much fun to me.
Anyone else want to tackle the what's your favorite villain and or modular set?
Yeah.
I mean, I could go.
You're like, nah.
I'll just go real quick. Mojo. Mojo is great. You know what I like? Okay, it was kind of a tie
okay.
between Spiral and Mojo. I do like Spiral a lot. But Mojo is just really interesting because the dude He's got this mechanic where when you're a hero, he goes through that encounter deck quickly, and then you're on a time clock, which is really interesting. So it makes you kind of think about, man, staying in hero is also a negative too. And then when you're an alter, the dude schemes like you wouldn't believe. He's got some good scheming. So it's just a mind puzzle, but he's really he was challenging for me, definitely, and he felt like a really big final boss. I know it's kind of weird, like you're saying the most latest modular set. That's kind of crazy, but yeah, Mojo Mania, as not even gonna debate it. It's in my mind. It's the best one so far for me, and that's the one I'm gonna pick. Anybody else?
Well, I think for modular sets, yeah, I agree with you with Mojo, just because of the fact that you get 3 villains instead of just the 1 or 2. But for me, growing up with the '90s cartoons, I love, and it's a tie between Sentinel and Master Mold, because that's kind of what I would have wanted out of those scenarios. You know, those are iconic moments, and well, definitely Sentinels is an iconic moment. It's the first 2 episodes of the show. But I really like Master Mold as well, because it feels like that's how that would work. And I absolutely love those. But I mean, for the modular sets, I don't think there's one in particular. I love going off script. There's a bunch of them that they've given us. You know, with Spider Ham, that was the Inheritors.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, and adding just something like that completely changes the game. Again, I love the fact that I was able to do that. Everyone hates Wolverine. Where, but yeah, so I did Sabretooth and I did Deathstrike, right? And these are all people that absolutely just hate Wolverine, and I just thought that goes back into what we were talking about earlier. There's a thematic aspect of it. Everybody, all of these people don't like him. I mean, you had to use your imagination with Bomb Scare, but still.
Late Night or Brant?
I would say the Hood. The Hood was my favorite villain, because just like he comes, just the theme is there. He's like, yeah, I'm just bringing all these guys with me, and then he just lays them out like as you go, and he can do it. You can have all 7 of them out, and he'll scheme you out, and then like, oh, I went alter ego, he was at 0, and next thing you know, you're
And
at
those
stage 3.
modulars that he kind of will stack into his counter deck. It's really I mean, it's very unique because you're picking a whole bunch of different ones and then a random one, and then yeah, it's I like the Hood too.
Yeah.
I think the Hood was really cool. Brant,
All right, I'm gonna rifle them. You ready?
go for it.
So, best
All of them.
campaign is the best campaign is the Mojo campaign. The Mojo Mania campaign is the best one.
Yes, my brother.
The best scenario pack hero, though, is Green Goblin Mutagen Formula. That's the single best out of a pack. Then we'll go backwards
that one was
through
killer.
them. So
that was a good one back in the day. Still is.
that is Boggs at his best right there, I think. And then throwing all that at you, but it's still manageable, right? It's just, it feels like chaos, but you can come out. So then in the Mutant Genesis box, the best scenario is Project Wide Awake. Getting the Sentinel one, you get all those allies, you're fighting all those. It feels like the 90s cartoon. It's literally the first episode, right? And then going backwards from there is Sinister Motives, and the best fight in there is the Sinister Six, which I know that Brian and Steve did a whole bunch of work on. They're in the book there, and they did a great job getting that scenario down. I love that one. Then before that was Mad Titan Shadow. It's really Hela, but I've really grown to love Thanos and just finding ways to help people beat Thanos. But Hela is still the most creative. It feels like Lord of the Rings or something like that. It's like a quest. So that one I still think is the best one in that box. Help me as I go backwards. Mad Titan Shadow. Before that is Galaxy's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
The best. Yep.
Okay. And it's Drang hands down in that box. I absolutely love Drang. I love that they add the speed threat. I think that was the first time we saw them adding more than one threat per player, and it gives you that feeling of he's invading the planet. The Band of Badoon is still one of my favorite modular sets. I will throw them in anything. I just think they're so fun, having all these little minions running around. But Rise of Red Skull. Who do I love out of that one? I think Zola's the best fight in that box.
Yeah,
I love Zola a ton.
hands down.
He's a really good villain as well. And then backing up to the core box, Claw is the quintessential fight to test your deck on. So whenever people say that, what do you test your deck?
Test your deck on the Claw,
is the spot, especially solo, to see, can I deal with minions? Can I deal with side schemes? Can I thwart? Can I deal damage, right? You're looking for those 4 aspects of your deck. And Claw is that quintessential fight, whether it be standard or expert, depending on your level up, or whatever, expert 2, whatever your level of difficulty is. But that's just the place to start to see. But hands down, the single greatest villain in this game has not changed since the core box, and it is Ultron.
Wow.
Nothing is better than the Ultron fight. He's so good. It's so fun. You have to deal with the drones. You're dealing with him.
I love it.
Especially on expert, the flip from stage 2 to stage 3 is such a light switch flip. It's not an oppressive thing. It's just you better have a plan. He's not adding drones anymore, but he might add them from that scheme. He's got 3 schemes, so you can use those and let those go to your advantage. The last one, the fact that you can't stop it, he's hit the button on the nuclear thing.
Can I just say
all
something?
You can do is stop him.
That
so
just recently, I think it was a week or two, me and Late Night Game did Ultron Expert Affinity Gauntlet, I think on Standard 2. And this is how close the game was. I'm not joking. The dude pulls 2 guard minions on us. We had the kill shot. We were so lucky. We were 1 thwart away on the final scheme, and we just had enough damage to kill him the following round. It was.
Nice.
Do you remember that game? It was crazy. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, he's so good. The only issue with Ultron that I would have is in solo. He's so susceptible to stun, especially on expert. That if you bring somebody like Cat Protection early on, or once what's her name came out, Spider Woman, it really crushes that fight. Like he just can't. But he is the perfect use of RNG. The best use they've ever had of RNG in the game is him, where he randomly is pulling cards off your deck to make drones, and he has all the things that say discard cards from your deck. There's a lot of stuff. So you can't get that setup. You're trying to get those cards, but they don't come out. They become drones. They become other things. I imagine we all had that experience of, oh my gosh, I'm Cap. Where's my shield? I must be missing my shield is my opening drone.
Hey, did you make the game yet where you play as Wolverine and his claws are the drone?
Never.
Oh, people are supposed to do that. It's a contest. I told them I'd give them a free hero pack if they film it.
Okay.
Never.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up. This was episode 1 of the Roundtable. Describe was hosting it. We'll see if we assemble again, Avengers style. Maybe do round 2 of the Marvel Champions discussion table. Maybe a different host, so maybe it could be Brant or Steve or Late Night or any one of us, and then we can do the questions and moderate. But I heard Tony is interested maybe in a future one, so maybe we even get some of the really big heavy hitters in, like Tony Tails. That would be kind of cool. Again, we had Steve from Play the Game was here most of the time. We had Brant. We had Maurice Andrews, CN Spartan, and Late Night Gaming. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to put the names up, but I will put links to all of them in the description. And I do want to appreciate you guys. Thanks for taking some time and just kind of being honest and open and discussing about Marvel Champions. Really appreciate that.
It's fun.
So thank you. Thank you, everybody. And maybe we'll see you in the future for another discussion.